Last week, I shared this MACD momentum indicator. In that video, we talked about how the indicator works. We did a little bit of backtesting, and even at the end, we touched on how to automate this indicator. But I feel like in my rambling on in that video, that last little bit of how to automate may have gotten lost in the void. So I wanted to make a new video that goes over specifically the different ways we can automate this indicator. So first, we're going to start off by automating this indicator using the Predator X order entry. The Predator is an order entry and management system that lets users create their full or semi-automated strategies with a bunch of different customizable features. One of those features is the ability to automate third-party indicators. And you can do all of this with just a click of a button. And when it comes to the Predator, there are two ways to automate. You can use draw objects like an arrow or a text, or you can even use the actual plot value. So in this video, we're going to cover both of those methods. This should only take a couple minutes because you can automate these very quickly with the Predator. But don't worry, for the next part of this video, I have something for those who like to make things maybe a little bit more complicated. I'm going to show you how to use this free indicator on Strategy Builder so that you can create your own automated strategy. Now with Strategy Builder, it is going to be a little bit more limited in what we can do compared to something like the Predator, but Strategy Builder is going to be free. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Let's get right into the video. All right, so method number one, we're starting off with the Predator. Now, to automate third-party indicators with the Predator, you need the indicator loaded on the chart. So make sure you download this indicator first. It's going to be on my website, TradeSaber.com/indicators, or it's also going to be posted on Discord. But once you have it imported, just go to Indicators, go to the TradeSaber folder, and it's going to be the TS MACD Momentum. Here, you can configure this however you want. We talked about this a little bit in the last video. For me, I'm going to keep it as is. But the one thing I do want to note in these properties is this number 4 entry signal settings. So with the Predator, we have the ability to automate draw object signals as long as it has the tag plus current bar code. This code is very standard amongst many popular vendors. So like Ninja, Trade Devils, I believe does the same thing. Many indicators that provide some sort of a draw object signal will have this code. So that gives the Predator the ability to automate many of these third-party indicators. And this indicator is no exception. What we've done here is simply just place the tag so it's very easy to copy and paste. Just note long entry as one word and short entry as one word. Don't worry, I'm going to show you exactly why we need these. So just hit apply and it's going to load our indicator. Now remember how we just talked about that tag plus current bar? What I mean by that is if we click on one of these signals, so let's zoom into this arrow right here. We can just double click on it. You're going to see your tag. So that is the short entry tag. That's the same thing that we just had inside the properties. And then your current bar, that's referring to this number. All that means is on bar 2048, it prints this signal. So it's just a way to keep track of the signal and the bar at the same time. Again, most indicators with some sort of a signal are going to be coded this way. It's pretty standard, but unfortunately, not all of them are. So in order to automate draw object signals, they will need this format. So all we have to take a note of here, again, it's that short entry and the long entry for the green up arrows. And guys, I don't want to spend too much time going over every little detail. If you guys want more information, I do have a full video in my user guide that covers all of this in a lot more detail. So make sure you guys check that out. But once we have all of our information, let's right click on the chart, go to strategies, and we're going to load the Predator. Now, all we have to do, go to O2B auto entries, custom signals, and we're going to add one entry signal. Make sure you are in object mode for this example, and long signal entry, that is the long entry tag. Your short signal entry, that is your short entry. Again, every indicator is going to have a different tag. Make sure you guys extract the tag for whatever indicator you're using. All right, so that's all that we need in order to automate these draw object signals. Now let's customize our strategy. So my current settings right now, and guys, I know I've been talking to a lot of you guys over on Discord. I'm working on maybe changing some of these things around, but I'm just going to cover the main strategy as of today. So my stop loss, 120 ticks. But again, with the Predator, you have a ton of customizable options. My trail stop, I'm using an ATR trail with a 2.1 times multiplier. Target one, I'm just using one target. That one, again, I have at 120 ticks. This is something I may change later. But the purpose of this video is just to show you how to automate this indicator so you guys can customize this on your own. And then I'm just going to add a time filter as well. So I like to run this 9:30 a.m. I have it set at 4:45, but honestly, this rarely ever trades more than 15-20 minutes. And I realized P&L as well of 200 profit, 400 loss. So basically, I'm looking for one winner and then I'm done. Or if I lose, try again. Once we have that, that's all that you need. Let's go to our chart and enable this. Now, when we enable the draw objects, you're going to look up here, top left-hand corner. You're going to see the signal validation system. This just lets you know whether the signals are being read or not. So if you see your tag, that's long entry, and a check mark, that means that signal has been read and it's good to go. If you see short entry for your short and a check mark, your shorts are also good to go. So now if we play this, we should be able to automate this strategy. So it's just waiting until 9:30. Let me speed this up a little bit. And I may have gone a little too quick. So here we got our first entry signal and we got stopped out right away. It was a loser. That's okay. We're just showing how this works. So here we got another signal. And as you can see, it starts trailing right away. And those are based on these settings that we define. We can adjust anything directly from the panel as well. So let's see if we get a long, just to kind of show how it works, and then we'll move on to the next example. So here we got our long entry signal. Again, the Predator was able to read it, and it manages our trade exactly how we defined. So that's how we automate the draw object signals. Let's go over how to automate it with the plots. All right, so back in the properties, I'm going to be using the exact same settings just to save time in this video, but all I'm going to change is our entry signal. I'm going to change object mode into plot mode. This is what I'm personally using right now. I do find the plots are a little bit faster, especially when loading. It's not as intensive as draw objects, but they work in a very similar way. All that we have to do in plot mode is we have to match the plot value at the time we get a signal. Now again, I have another video that goes into a lot more detail on how all of this works and the different ways we can configure this. But for the sake of this video, in order to not make it too long, I'm just going to show you this indicator specifically. Now with this MACD momentum indicator, I did make a separate plot value that gives us a +1 when we get a long signal, that's the green arrow, and we get a -1 value when we get these short arrows. So all we have to do is for our longs, it must equal 1. For our shorts, it must equal -1. Don't worry about the plots here. I'm going to show you how to load them. All we have to do is hit apply, load this on the chart. Now, a very common question I get when it comes to the plot signal system is, Dre, I loaded everything, I used the plots, but nothing is showing up. And that is because we need a price change in the market in order to load everything. So typically, by the time you see your P&L down here, so let me just hit play. There's a price change in the market, you see your P&L, that little data loading message is gone. Let's go up to our validation system, and now you're going to find all of the plots that are on the chart. Now we just have to match the plot that we're using. So in this example, it's the entry signal plot. So all I have to do is select the same for both. When we get a value of +1 for this plot, we're going to enter long. When we get a value of -1, we're going to enter short. So again, I'm running this exact same setup here, and you'll notice not much is going to change. So let me speed this up a little bit. So again, we get stopped out there, and it's going to manage it in a very similar manner. So again, very similar in how these function. It's just whether you're looking at draw object signals like an arrow or text, or are you looking for an actual plot value? Either one of these should give you a lot of options to automate these third-party indicators. But now, just like I promised, if you want to complicate things a little bit more and maybe build out your own strategy and keep it free, let's move over to Strategy Builder to show how to automate this exact indicator. All right, to open up Strategy Builder, just head over to your Ninja control panel, go to New, and select Strategy Builder. You're going to get this pop-up. Now, we just go to New Strategy and select Next. This one, we're going to do MACD Momentum Free. This is just a name. You can type in whatever you want. It really does not matter. So just hit Next. Now, your calculate method is just how often it's going to perform your bar calculations. So on bar close is just going to update once anytime a bar closes. So anything that you have in your script, it's only once when the bar closes. If you change it to on each tick, very CPU intensive, any tick in the market, so volume, price change, really anything is going to recalculate your strategy. And on price change, similar to on each tick, but this one is just when the price changes. So still real time, but it's not as CPU intensive. For this strategy, I don't recommend doing on each tick or on price change. I'm going to keep everything on bar close. It's just going to make things a little bit easier because the indicator itself right now, I have just been using it on bar close. So again, you can test this however you want, but for this example, I'm keeping it on bar close. Now, once we do that, just hit Next. Additional data, custom series, we don't really need any of that for this. Now, your inputs are variables that the user can customize within the properties. So things like your position size, profit target, stop loss. These are all things that you may want to quickly change within the properties without having to go back into the code to change it. So that's what I recommend putting in here. You don't have to do any of this, but it does help. So quantity, I'm just going to keep it at 1 and an integer. Now for my profit and stop, I'm going to use ticks as well, just because they're easy to work with. So I'll keep it all very similar to my predator strategy as well. So profit, I'm going to say my default is 120. And again, that is an integer. And my stop is going to be, same thing, 120. And for this strategy, I'm also going to add the time limit so we can start right at 9:30 as well. So I'm going to say start, and this is going to be a time, and I'm going to say 09:30 a.m. And we must define the end time as well. So end time. This again, it usually doesn't trade past 10 a.m. and even that if we're lucky or unlucky, honestly, because the best trades usually happen first thing in the morning. But anyways, we have our start and the end time. Let's head over to our conditions and actions. So now in set one, we are going long. The first thing I want to make sure is that we are in a flat position. That means we are not in a current trade. So how we define that, go to strategy, go to current market position is equals to strategy, market position, flat. So that is your first condition to enter long. Now, we also have to make sure that we are within our time period. So how we do that, go to add, go to time, and for this one, we're doing a time series. So time series, we have to make sure that the current time is greater or equal to our user input, and that is our start time variable. And we also must define the end time. So time go back to the time series, less than our user input end time. So it must be greater than our start time or less than our end time. Only then can we enter a trade. So now to define the indicator itself, go to add indicator, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the TS MACD momentum. And from here, scroll all the way down. Make sure you plot it on the chart if that's what you want. But the most important thing is the value plot. We have to make sure we're using this entry signal. So just select entry signal from the value plot. It must equals MISC. Scroll down to numeric value, and we're changing this to a value of 1. So once we have that, now we can submit our order down here. So add order management. We're going to enter a long position. The quantity, let's change this to our quantity variable. Again, that way you can customize right within the properties. Our signal name, let's do just entry. And that should be all that you need for long orders. Now let's do our short conditions. We can easily do that by right-clicking here, and we're going to make a copy for set number 2. Now, all that we have to modify here is this indicator. Now just verify that you still have that value plot entry signal selected. And for set number 2, we just have to change this to a value of -1. That is the short entry signal. Everything else can stay the same because we're just checking to make sure we're flat and we're making sure we're within our set times. Now we can just delete our enter long, and we're going to change this for an enter short. Again, you can use that quantity variable, and we can use the same tag because we're only using one target. If you're using multiple targets, I have different videos on how to do that. You would need to have different signal names, but for this example, we're just keeping it simple. That should be all that you need for your conditions. Now let's create our stop and our profit targets. Now, stop and targets, we're going to add, and we're going to start with a profit target. So for profit target, you can use profit target or profit target total position. It doesn't matter because we only have one target anyways. So if you were adding multiple targets, you could do profit target, have each entry signal with a different tag. But for this example, again, we're just using one target, so it doesn't really matter. Just change this to ticks, and our value is going to be our profit variable. And we're going to do something similar for a stop, but this is where you need to make a decision. Do you want a straight stop loss, or do you want to trail your stop loss? So when you're using the stop and targets page, you cannot mix and match the stop loss. You can't have one stop loss and then a trailing stop. It's going to prevent that trade. It's not going to work. You have to have one or the other. And you have a few different options. You have a straight trailing stop where it's just going to move your stop up as the current price moves up. Or you have the parabolic stop, which is going to be very similar to the parabolic SAR indicator. So some people like this where it's going to kind of adjust with the market. For this example, I kind of want to use that one, so that's what we'll do. So let's just change this. Again, we're going to start with ticks, and our stop location is going to be our stop variable. So that should be all that we need. Let's hit that compile button and see how this looks on our chart. All right, that compiled successfully. Let's head over to our chart. We're going to right click, go to strategies, and we're going to scroll down to our MACD momentum free. Just double click on that, get it on the chart. And here you're going to see your user inputs. So your position size, your profit and stop distance, and also your start and your end time. So if you're happy with all of that, just hit apply, and we're going to enable it. And when we enable it, we're also going to see that indicator generated on your chart. So now all you have to do, push play, and it should start taking trades as soon as we hit that 930 and we get a valid signal. There we go. We got one signal there and it automatically took that trade. So again, I'm just running the exact same scenarios as before. There we go. And there we go. It managed to enter on every signal that it generated, and it even trailed or stopped just like we defined with that parabolic trail. Now, the only thing missing from this is obviously the realized P&L limit. I don't want to make this video too long. It's already getting up there. I do have a lot of other videos that go over how to do specific things with Strategy Builder, again, like a P&L limit or kill switch. Again, that's going to take up quite a bit more time, but that is something you guys can configure. Again, the purpose of this video is not to have a full functioning strategy, but more how to show you how to actually automate this and get it working for your own settings. But I think I'm going to cut the video here. I am going to post this on my website and on Discord, so make sure you guys check that out if you need it. But I hope you guys found this video useful. As always, take care, enjoy.